Maya Williams walked through the hallways of Jefferson High School with her head down, clutching her books tightly against her chest. The familiar knot in her stomach grew tighter as she passed groups of students who seemed to look right through her. At 17, Maya had learned to make herself invisible, a skill she had perfected over the years to avoid unwanted attention. Her dark skin glowed under the fluorescent lights, and her natural hair was pulled back into a simple ponytail. She wore the same faded jeans and oversized sweater she had worn yesterday, and the day before that. Money was tight at home, and new clothes were a luxury her single mother couldn't afford while working 2 jobs to keep them afloat. The morning started like any other until Maya reached her locker. Someone had scrawled ugly words across it in permanent marker. Her heart sank as she read the hateful message, but she wasn't surprised. This had been happening for weeks now, ever since she had been placed in advanced classes with students who came from wealthy families on the other side of town. "Look what we have here," came a voice from behind her. Maya didn't need to turn around to know who it was. Brittany Johnson, the blonde-haired queen bee of the school, approached with her usual group of followers trailing behind her like loyal puppies. Maya tried to ignore them and focused on opening her locker. But Brittany wasn't going to let her off that easy. She slammed the locker door shut, nearly catching Maya's fingers in the process. "I'm talking to you," Brittany said, her voice dripping with false sweetness. "Didn't your mama teach you any manners?" The mention of her mother made Maya's jaw clench, but she kept quiet. She had learned that responding only made things worse. The other students in the hallway pretended not to notice what was happening, quickly walking past as if nothing was going on. "She probably doesn't even have a mama," laughed Jessica, one of Brittany's closest friends. "That's why she dresses like she shops at the thrift store." Maya felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment. She did shop at thrift stores, and there was nothing wrong with that, but the way they said it made her feel ashamed. She reached for her locker again, but Brittany pushed her hand away. "We're not done talking to you yet," Brittany said, stepping closer. "You think you're so smart, don't you? Getting into all those fancy classes, making the rest of us look bad." Maya finally looked up, meeting Brittany's cold blue eyes. "I just want to get to class," she said quietly. "Oh, she speaks," Jessica exclaimed, clapping her hands mockingly. "And look at that attitude. Someone needs to put her in her place." The warning bell rang, signaling that students had 5 minutes to get to their first period classes. Maya hoped this would end the confrontation, but Brittany had other plans. "You know what I think?" Brittany said, loud enough for everyone nearby to hear. "I think you cheated your way into those classes. There's no way someone like you belongs with the smart kids." Maya felt something snap inside her chest. For months she had endured their comments about her clothes, her hair, her family's financial situation, but questioning her intelligence, suggesting she didn't deserve her academic achievements, crossed a line. "I earned my place in those classes," Maya said, her voice stronger this time. "Just like I've earned everything else I have." Brittany's eyes widened in surprise. She wasn't used to Maya fighting back. The small crowd that had gathered seemed to sense that something was shifting in the dynamic between the two girls. "Excuse me," Brittany said, stepping even closer to Maya. "Are you getting an attitude with me?" Maya could feel her heart pounding, but for the first time in months it wasn't from fear. It was from something else entirely. Something that felt like awakening. She straightened her shoulders and looked Brittany directly in the eye. "I'm just stating facts," Maya said calmly. "I have a 4.0 GPA. I'm in the top 5% of our class, and I got into those advanced classes because I worked hard and earned it." The hallway had grown quiet. Students who had been hurrying to class had slowed down to watch the confrontation unfold. Some were even recording with their phones, sensing that something significant was happening. Brittany's face turned red with anger. She wasn't used to being challenged, especially not by someone she considered beneath her. "You think you're better than us now?" she spat. "I don't think I'm better than anyone," Maya replied, surprised by how steady her own voice sounded. "But I'm not going to let you make me feel less than anyone either." Jessica stepped forward, clearly trying to back up her friend. "Who do you think you are, talking to Brittany like that?" Maya turned her attention to Jessica, her confidence growing with each word. "I know exactly who I am. The question is, why do you spend so much time worrying about what I'm doing instead of focusing on yourself?" The second bell rang, meaning students were officially late to class, but nobody moved. The tension in the hallway was thick, and everyone could sense that this moment was different from all the others that had come before it. Brittany looked around, realizing that the crowd was no longer automatically on her side. Some students were nodding in agreement with what Maya had said. Others were looking at Brittany with expressions that suggested they were seeing her behavior in a new light. "This isn't over," Brittany said, pointing a finger at Maya. "You have no idea who you're messing with." Maya stood her ground, not moving even as Brittany tried to intimidate her with her proximity. "Neither do you," she said quietly, but loud enough for everyone to hear. As Brittany and her friends finally walked away, Maya realized that something fundamental had changed. The scared, quiet girl who had walked into school that morning was gone. In her place stood someone who was ready to fight for herself and her dignity. The crowd slowly dispersed as students hurried to their classes, but Maya noticed that several of them looked at her with something that resembled respect. She opened her locker and gathered her books, her hands no longer shaking. For the first time in months, Maya Williams walked to class with her head held high. She had no idea that this moment in the hallway was just the beginning of a transformation that would change not only her life, but the lives of everyone around her. The warrior inside her had awakened, and there would be no going back to the frightened girl she used to be. The word about Maya's confrontation with Brittany spread through Jefferson High like wildfire. By lunchtime, everyone seemed to know about the quiet girl who had finally stood up to the school's most feared bully. Maya walked through the cafeteria, acutely aware of the whispers and stares following her every move. She grabbed her usual lunch of a peanut butter sandwich from home and a carton of milk, then looked around for a place to sit. The cafeteria was divided into invisible territories, with each group claiming their own section. Maya usually sat alone at a small table near the windows, but today she noticed something different. As she approached her usual spot, a girl with curly red hair and freckles looked up from her book. "You can sit here if you want," she said, gesturing to the empty chair across from her. "I'm Sarah." Maya hesitated for a moment. She wasn't used to invitations from other students. "Are you sure?" "Absolutely," Sarah said with a warm smile. "What you did this morning was incredible. I've been watching Brittany terrorize people for 3 years and nobody has ever stood up to her like that." As Maya sat down, 2 other students approached their table. One was Marcus, a tall basketball player with kind eyes, and the other was Elena, a Latina girl from Maya's chemistry class. "Mind if we join you?" Marcus asked. "I wanted to tell you how awesome you were today." Maya felt overwhelmed by the attention. For so long she had felt invisible and alone. Now suddenly people were seeking her out, wanting to be associated with her courage. "I can't believe you actually said that to her face," Elena said, shaking her head in amazement. Brittany looked like she was about to explode. "She's probably planning her revenge right now," Sarah said, glancing over at Brittany's table where she sat with her usual group, shooting daggers in Maya's direction. Maya followed their gaze and saw Brittany whispering animatedly to her friends. Every few seconds, one of them would look over at Maya's table and then quickly look away. "Let her plan," Maya said, surprising herself with her boldness. "I'm tired of being afraid." Marcus leaned forward, his expression serious. "Brittany can be really vicious when someone crosses her. Last year she made this girl Ashley's life so miserable that Ashley transferred schools." "What did Ashley do?" Maya asked. "She dated a guy that Brittany had a crush on," Elena explained. "Brittany started rumors about her, got her kicked off the cheerleading squad, and turned half the school against her." Maya felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed the fear aside. "I'm not Ashley," she said firmly, "and I'm not going anywhere." The conversation was interrupted when a shadow fell across their table. Maya looked up to see Tyler Madison, one of the most popular boys in school and Brittany's on and off boyfriend, standing behind her chair. "Maya, right?" he said, his voice friendly. "Can I talk to you for a second?" Maya glanced at her new friends, who all looked concerned. She nodded and followed Tyler to a quieter corner of the cafeteria. "Look," Tyler said, running a hand through his blonde hair. "I heard about what happened this morning. Brittany is really upset." "She should be," Maya replied. "Maybe she'll think twice before treating people badly." Tyler looked surprised by her directness. "I'm not saying she was right, but you know how she is. She doesn't like being embarrassed, especially in front of half the school." "Then she shouldn't embarrass other people," Maya said simply. "You don't understand," Tyler said, his voice dropping lower. "She's talking about really making your life difficult. I'm trying to help you here." Maya studied Tyler's face, trying to determine if his concern was genuine or if he was acting as Brittany's messenger. "What exactly are you suggesting?" Just apologize, he said. Tell her you were having a bad day and you didn't mean to disrespect her. It'll blow over in a week. Maya felt that familiar fire building in her chest again. Apologize for what? For standing up for myself? For refusing to let her treat me like garbage? It's just words, Tyler said, looking frustrated. Your pride isn't worth what she's planning to do to you. My pride is all I have, Maya said, her voice getting stronger. For months I've watched her tear people down just because she can. I've watched students transfer schools, skip classes, and hate themselves because of her cruelty. And you want me to apologize? Tyler shifted uncomfortably. You're making this harder than it needs to be. No, Maya said, stepping closer to him. What's hard is watching someone abuse their power and everyone just accepting it as normal. What's hard is being told to apologize for finally having enough courage to say enough. You're going to regret this, Tyler said. But there was no malice in his voice. If anything, he sounded almost admiring. The only thing I regret is not standing up sooner, Maya replied. As Tyler walked back to Brittany's table, Maya returned to her own table where Sarah, Marcus, and Elena were waiting anxiously. What did he want? Sarah asked. He wanted me to apologize to Brittany, Maya said, sitting back down. Please tell me you didn't, Elena said. Not a chance, Maya replied with a small smile. Marcus shook his head in amazement. You really are different from everyone else here. I'm just tired of pretending that what she does is okay, Maya said. I'm tired of making myself small so that she can feel big. As if on cue, Brittany's voice cut across the cafeteria. She was speaking loudly enough for several nearby tables to hear, but pretending to have a private conversation with her friends. Some people just don't know their place, Brittany said with a fake laugh. They think one little moment makes them special, but they're about to learn the hard way that they're still nobody. The cafeteria had grown quieter as more students tuned into what was clearly becoming another confrontation. Maya felt all eyes turn to her, waiting to see how she would respond. For a moment, Maya considered ignoring the comment and finishing her lunch in peace. The old Maya would have pretended not to hear, would have shrunk down in her seat and hoped for the moment to pass. But the old Maya was gone. Maya stood up slowly, her chair scraping against the floor. The cafeteria fell completely silent as she walked across the room toward Brittany's table. Every step felt deliberate and powerful, as if she was walking toward her destiny rather than toward a confrontation. Brittany looked up with a smug expression as Maya approached, clearly expecting another opportunity to humiliate her. You're right about one thing, Maya said, her voice carrying clearly across the silent cafeteria. Some people don't know their place, but I know mine. She leaned forward slightly, placing her hands on the table. My place is in those advanced classes that I earned. My place is standing up for myself and others. And my place is showing everyone in this school that your reign of terror is over. Brittany's smug expression faltered as Maya continued. You've spent so much time trying to make other people feel small that you forgot something important, Maya said. When you push people down long enough, eventually they learn how to fight back. And when they do, they're stronger than they ever imagined. Maya straightened up and looked around the cafeteria at all the faces staring back at her. This is my place, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, and I'm not going anywhere. The silence stretched for several long seconds before someone started clapping. Then another person joined in and another, until nearly half the cafeteria was applauding. Maya walked back to her table, her heart pounding but her head held high. She had crossed a line that she could never uncross, and she knew that the real battle was just beginning. But for the first time in her life, she felt ready for war. The next morning, Maya arrived at school to find her locker vandalized worse than ever before. Someone had poured sticky soda all over her books and covered everything in crude drawings and hateful words. Students walking by slowed down to stare at the mess, some looking sympathetic while others seemed to be enjoying the spectacle. Maya stared at the destruction for a moment, feeling the familiar sting of humiliation. But instead of the crushing despair she used to feel, anger burned bright in her chest. She pulled out her phone and took pictures of everything before cleaning up the mess with paper towels from the nearby bathroom. This is getting serious, Sarah said, appearing at Maya's side with Marcus and Elena close behind. They had become her constant companions since the cafeteria confrontation, forming an unlikely group of allies. She's trying to break you down, Marcus observed. helping Maya salvage what books they could, make you feel like you made a mistake by standing up to her. It's not working, Maya said firmly, though her hands shook slightly as she threw away her ruined homework assignments. I knew there would be consequences. Elena looked around nervously. My cousin went to school with Brittany's older sister. She said the whole family is like this. They think they own whatever space they're in. Well, they don't own me, Maya replied, slamming her cleaned locker shut with more force than necessary. The first period English class proved to be another challenge. When Maya walked in, she found a folded piece of paper on her desk. Inside was a crude drawing of her with nasty words written around it. Several students watched her reaction, some looking guilty while others seemed curious to see if she would finally break. Maya looked at the paper for a long moment, then stood up and walked to the front of the classroom. Mrs. Peterson, their English teacher, looked up from her lesson plans with concern. Mrs. Peterson, Maya said clearly, I think you should see this. She handed the paper to her teacher, who read it with increasing dismay. The classroom fell silent as Mrs. Peterson's expression grew stern. Who is responsible for this? Mrs. Peterson asked, looking around the room. Nobody answered, but Maya noticed several students glancing toward the back corner where Jessica sat with a poorly concealed smirk on her face. This is harassment, Mrs. Peterson continued, and it will not be tolerated in my classroom or anywhere else in this school. I'm reporting this to the principal immediately. That's not necessary, Maya said, surprising everyone, including herself. I can handle this on my own. Maya, this type of behavior, Mrs. Peterson began. I appreciate your concern, Maya interrupted respectfully, but I want everyone in this room to know that I won't be running to teachers or hiding behind rules. If someone has something to say to me, they can say it to my face. She turned to face the class, her eyes scanning the room until they landed on Jessica. Some people think anonymous notes make them brave, but real courage is signing your name to your actions. Jessica's smirk faded as Maya continued. Real courage is standing up for what's right, even when it's scary. Real courage is treating people with respect even when nobody's watching. Maya's voice grew stronger with each word. Anonymous notes? That's just cowardice. By lunchtime, word of the morning's incident had spread throughout the school. Maya sat with her growing group of friends, which now included 2 students from her advanced placement classes and a quiet girl named Ashley who had approached her after second period. I used to sit alone too, Ashley explained, picking at her sandwich. Before Brittany decided I was worth targeting, I know how it feels to be in her crosshairs. How did you survive it? Maya asked. Ashley looked uncomfortable. I didn't really. I just tried to stay invisible until graduation. But watching you fight back, it makes me wish I had been braver. It's not too late, Maya said gently. Brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means doing what's right even when you are scared. Their conversation was interrupted when Tyler appeared at their table again, but this time he looked different. His usual confident demeanor was replaced with something that looked like guilt. Maya, can I talk to you? He asked, glancing around at her friends. All of you, actually. What do you want? Marcus asked suspiciously. Tyler sat down without being invited, running his hands through his hair. I need to tell you something. About Brittany's plan. Maya leaned forward, her attention focused entirely on Tyler. What plan? She's not just planning to embarrass you, Tyler said, his voice low. She's going after your family. She found out your mom works 2 jobs and she's planning to cause trouble at both places. Maya felt her blood run cold. Going after her was one thing, but involving her hardworking mother crossed every line imaginable. She's going to do what? Sarah asked, her voice sharp with anger. Her dad knows the owner of the restaurant where Maya's mom works weekends, Tyler continued, and her mom is friends with someone at the cleaning company. Brittany thinks if she can get Maya's mom fired from both jobs, Maya will transfer schools to avoid more problems for her family. Elena slammed her hand on the table. That's not bullying anymore. That's destroying someone's life. Why are you telling us this? Maya asked Tyler, studying his face carefully. Tyler looked genuinely ashamed. Because it's wrong. I've watched Brittany hurt people before, but this is too far. Your mom doesn't deserve to lose her jobs because her daughter stood up for herself. Maya stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. The fury building inside her was different from anything she had felt before. It wasn't just anger about being mistreated. It was righteous indignation at the thought of her innocent mother being dragged into this cruelty. Where is she? Maya asked, her voice deadly calm. Maya, wait, Marcus said, grabbing her arm. Don't do something you'll regret when you're angry. I'm not angry, Maya said, though her eyes blazed with intensity. I'm done. She walked across the cafeteria with purpose, her friends trailing behind her. The usual chatter died down as students sensed another confrontation brewing. Maya approached Brittany's table where the queen bee sat surrounded by her loyal followers. We need to talk, Maya said, her voice cutting through the sudden silence. Brittany looked up with fake innocence. Oh, look who's back for more. Ready to apologize yet? I'm ready to make you a deal, Maya said, pulling out an empty chair and sitting down uninvited. Her calmness seemed to unnerve Brittany more than anger would have. What kind of deal? Brittany asked, trying to maintain her superior tone. Maya leaned forward, her voice steady and clear. You leave my mother out of this, and I'll give you what you really want. And what exactly do I want? Brittany asked with a laugh. A real fight, Maya said simply. You're bored, Brittany. You've spent so many years picking on people who won't fight back that you've forgotten what real competition feels like. The cafeteria had grown completely silent. Students at nearby tables strained to hear every word of the conversation. You want me gone from this school because you're threatened by me? Maya continued. You see me succeeding in advanced classes, and it reminds you that your popularity doesn't make you special. You see me standing up for myself, and it shows everyone else that they can do the same thing. Brittany's face had grown pale, but Maya wasn't finished. So here's my deal, Maya said, standing up slowly. You can keep coming after me all you want. But the moment you involve my family, the moment you try to hurt innocent people who have nothing to do with our conflict, I will make it my personal mission to show this entire school exactly who you really are. Are you threatening me? Brittany asked, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. I'm making you a promise, Maya replied. Touch my family and I will dedicate every ounce of energy I have to making sure everyone knows the real Brittany Johnson. Not the popular girl, not the queen bee, but the insecure bully who hurts others because she hates herself. Maya turned to address the entire cafeteria, her voice carrying clearly across the room. And that goes for anyone else who thinks terrorizing people makes them powerful. Your reign is over. There's a new sheriff in town and she doesn't back down. As Maya walked away from the table, she heard something she had never heard before. Genuine fear in Brittany's voice as she whispered to her friends. For the first time, the bully had become the one being bullied, and Maya was just getting started. True to her word, Brittany kept her attacks focused on Maya and left her mother alone. But the bullying escalated in ways that Maya hadn't expected. What started as verbal confrontations and vandalized lockers evolved into a systematic campaign designed to isolate Maya from her newfound friends and destroy her reputation throughout the school. Maya discovered the depth of Brittany's influence on a Thursday morning when she overheard two girls in the bathroom talking about her. I heard she only got into those advanced classes because of affirmative action, one girl said, completely unaware that Maya was in one of the stalls. That's what Brittany said, the other girl replied. She said Maya's grades are fake and that the school is just trying to look diverse. Maya felt her heart sink. Brittany was attacking not just her character, but her intelligence and her achievements. She was spreading lies that would be almost impossible to disprove. And that played into the worst stereotypes and prejudices that Maya had spent her entire life fighting against. When Maya emerged from the stall, both girls looked mortified to see her. They mumbled apologies and rushed out, but the damage was done. Maya realized that Brittany's influence extended far beyond her immediate friend group, and that lies could spread faster than truth in a high school environment. At lunch, Maya's usual table seemed smaller than before. Several students who had been sitting with her group over the past few days were notably absent. Where is everyone? Maya asked Sarah, who was picking at her food with less enthusiasm than usual. Sarah exchanged a glance with Marcus before answering. Some people are getting nervous about being associated with you. Brittany's been making it clear that anyone who supports you becomes a target too. Maya felt a familiar stab of loneliness, but it was quickly replaced by determination. So they're abandoning ship before the real fight even begins? Not everyone, Elena said firmly. The people who matter are still here. And we're not going anywhere, added Ashley, who had become braver with each passing day. Maya looked around at her remaining friends and felt a surge of appreciation. These people were risking their own social standing to support her, and that meant more than any popularity ever could. I have an idea, Maya said, leaning forward conspiratorially, but it's going to require all of us to be braver than we've ever been before. What are you thinking? Marcus asked. Maya pulled out her phone and showed them a video she had been working on the night before. It was a compilation of all the vandalism, harassment, and cruelty she had documented over the past weeks, along with testimonials from other students who had been bullied by Brittany's group. We're going to tell the truth, Maya said simply. All of it? We're going to show everyone exactly what's been happening in this school, not just to me but to dozens of other students over the years. Sarah looked worried. Maya, this could backfire. Brittany has a lot of influence. People might not believe us or they might blame us for stirring up trouble. Then we make sure we have so much evidence that they can't ignore it, Maya replied. We document everything. We get other victims to speak up. We show everyone that this isn't just about one popular girl being mean. It's about a culture of cruelty that we've all been accepting as normal. Over the next few days, Maya and her friends worked like investigative reporters. They talked to students who had been bullied, collected evidence of harassment, and documented the ways that Brittany and her followers had been terrorizing their classmates for years. What they discovered was shocking. Brittany's influence had contributed to at least 3 students transferring schools, 2 students developing serious anxiety disorders, and 1 student who had been hospitalized after an eating disorder triggered by cruel comments about her weight. This is bigger than we thought, Ashley said as they reviewed their findings in the school library. She's not just a mean girl. She's been systematically destroying people. Maya felt the weight of responsibility settling on her shoulders. What had started as a personal battle was revealing itself to be something much more significant. The breaking point came on a Friday afternoon. Maya was walking to her car after school when she found Brittany and Jessica waiting for her in the parking lot, along with several other students Maya didn't recognize. Going somewhere? Brittany asked with a cold smile. Maya looked around and realized they had positioned themselves to block her path to her car. Other students were leaving the parking lot quickly, not wanting to get involved in whatever was about to happen. Just heading home, Maya replied calmly, though her heart was racing. See, that's a problem, Brittany said, stepping closer, because I think you've been causing too much trouble lately, spreading lies about me, turning people against me. I haven't been spreading lies, Maya said. I've been telling the truth. Jessica laughed harshly. Your version of the truth. But nobody wants to hear from someone who doesn't belong here anyway. Maya felt that familiar fire building in her chest. But this time it was different. This time, she wasn't just angry for herself. She was angry for every student who had been made to feel like they didn't belong, every person who had been crushed under Brittany's cruelty. You're right about one thing, Maya said, her voice growing stronger. I don't belong here. Not in your world of hurting people for entertainment. Not in your culture of making others feel small so you can feel big. She took a step forward, surprising Brittany with her boldness. But this isn't your world anymore, Maya continued, because I'm changing it. Every day more people are seeing through your act. Every day, more students are finding the courage to speak up. Every day your power gets a little bit smaller. You think you're so special, Brittany spat, but you're just another, what? Maya interrupted, her eyes flashing dangerously. Say it, say what you really think. Let everyone hear the real you. Brittany's face twisted with rage, but she seemed to realize that there were still other students within earshot, some of whom were discreetly recording with their phones. You're going to regret this, Brittany said instead, but her voice lacked its usual conviction. The only thing I regret, Maya said, stepping even closer, is not standing up sooner. Not just for myself, but for every single person you've hurt over the years. She looked directly into Brittany's eyes, her voice clear and strong. But I'm standing up now, and I'm not stopping until everyone in this school knows that they don't have to be afraid of you anymore. Maya walked around Brittany and her group, got in her car, and drove home. As she pulled away, she could see Brittany still standing in the parking lot, looking smaller and more vulnerable than Maya had ever seen her. That weekend, Maya made a decision that would change everything. She was going to take her evidence to the administration, to the school board if necessary, and to the community. She was going to expose not just Brittany's behavior, but the entire culture of bullying that had been allowed to flourish at Jefferson High. The quiet girl who had once tried to make herself invisible was about to make sure that everyone saw exactly what had been happening in their school, and she was going to make sure that no other student would ever have to suffer in silence the way she had. The warrior inside her wasn't just awake now, she was ready for battle. Monday morning brought an energy to Jefferson High that felt different from anything Maya had experienced before. She arrived early, carrying a folder thick with evidence and a determination that seemed to radiate from every step she took. Word had spread over the weekend that something big was about to happen, though nobody knew exactly what. Maya went straight to the principal's office, where Mrs. Henderson was just arriving with her morning coffee. The older woman looked surprised to see a student waiting for her so early. Maya Williams, Mrs. Henderson said, recognizing her from the few disciplinary meetings they had shared over the years, though Maya had always been the victim, never the instigator. "What can I do for you?" "I need to show you something," Maya said, holding up her folder. "Something that's been happening at this school for years, and something that needs to stop now." Mrs. Henderson unlocked her office door and gestured for Maya to come in. For the next hour, Maya methodically presented her evidence: photos of vandalized lockers, screenshots of cruel social media posts, recorded testimonies from students who had been bullied, and documented patterns of harassment that painted a picture of systematic cruelty. "This is—" Mrs. Henderson paused, looking overwhelmed by the scope of what Maya was showing her. "This is far more extensive than I realized." "It's been happening right under everyone's noses," Maya said. "But people have been too scared to report it because they knew it would just make them bigger targets." Mrs. Henderson studied a particularly cruel series of text messages that had been sent to a sophomore girl. "Why are you bringing this to me now, Maya?" "What's changed?" "I changed," Maya said simply. "I got tired of being afraid.